Hi guys, happy Monday. I'm a bit wiped out. I'm recording this last night, as I tend to do, and we had 3 shows on the War on Stupid tour. The Waterloo show went amazing, but we had to drive back through a freezing rainstorm and didn't get in until 4:30 in the morning. So I am really wiped out right now. But I wanted to get content up on Monday, and I realized that if I don't do this content today, nobody's going to care. Now, I haven't seen the Captain Marvel movie yet. This video is not about the merits of the movie. I'm going to do that as another video. Hopefully I'll be seeing that today. I think I'm going to make that Patreon only because reviews and stuff like that I do, the only review I've done in recent memory that's done even remotely well is the She-Ra review I did, the Netflix She-Ra review. I don't think, and I think that's because there weren't a lot of actual reviews of that thing out. So I'm just going to do this as Patreon only. Just because nobody quite frankly cares. So if you're interested in my views on Captain Marvel, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K. I want to talk today about the narrative the media set leading up to this movie and throughout the opening weekend. Now, obviously the movie did very well by any standard. Some people are grumbling on Twitter that the statistics are misleading, but typical of angry people online, they don't say why. So I really can't comment here nor there. I am just saying, full disclosure, some people have argued these numbers, but like I said, I don't know why they're arguing these numbers, so I can't speak to that. So I'm going with the best information that I have. If somebody can explain to me why they think these numbers are misleading, I'm happy to listen, but please do it calmly. There's no reason to freak out. So far, the best we know, the Captain Marvel box office has made $153 million domestically, and that means US and Canada, North America. I guess that includes Mexico too. And $302 million internationally, giving it an estimated global weekend of $455 million, the 6th highest global debut of all time. Now, I will say that opening weekends tend to have very little to do with the quality of the movie. And I will be watching the second week drop-off on this film because second week drop-off tends to tell more about word of mouth. Now, it also tends to be that films that have a huge opening weekend because there's a huge amount of hype do drop off no matter how good they are. But, movies that are good tend to hang around in theaters. There's a lot of comparison between Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman. And I don't think those comparisons are fair because Wonder Woman didn't come off, they weren't announced in a hugely successful cliffhanger movie where, the implication is that Captain Marvel was going to come in and save the day somehow in Infinity War. So there was less built-in curiosity. Wonder Woman debuted. We got a little bit of her in the, absolutely lackluster Batman versus Superman movie. So she had a lot more to come back from. And the DC movies clearly don't have the hype that the Marvel movies do. They're certainly not of the quality of even the not so good Marvel movies. So, I'll be one of the people who will be seeing this second week. So I'll be contributing to the second week boost. And I admit part of the reason I'm interested in seeing this movie now is because some people told me there are very funny cats in it. Why weren't those in the trailers? I have my issues with the Captain Marvel marketing. I found it boring. I'm glad the movie did well despite really boring marketing. Maybe, what do I know? Maybe I know the character too well, so I'm not a good judge of whether the marketing was good or not, but I found it very bland. But that's not what the press sort of singled out. They singled out this sort of narrative. Captain Marvel's battle, heroic expectations, toxic fans. This toxic fans narrative has been so all pervasive that I actually put it in as a bit this weekend on the War on Stupid tour. And I'm going to say what I say in the show, obviously in a less kind of stand-up comedy kind of way. But it is my opinion that the whole toxic fan thing is really misleading. Yes, there was some Comicsgate kerfuffling around, I said it, some kerfuffling around the Captain Marvel character in the comics as well as in the movie. I'll admit that my favorite Captain Marvel costume is this one. I actually have a cosplay of this Ms. Marvel. I love this costume. Of course, CBC takes a swipe at it as being just, a bathing suit. If you have bathing suits with those sort of spats, please let me know. But I love this costume. It feels good to wear. It's a lot of fun. And it looks really good on curvier bodies. But, so yeah, I get why they went with the Warbird suit. That's what she was called when she was in that suit. It wasn't a creation of a woman in recent memory, just saying. Yeah, I get why they didn't go with that suit, even though it's my favorite one. But see, I am a fan of Ms. Marvel / Captain Marvel. The people who are hating on the movie are not fans. You can't say the people who are really angry about the movie coming up are fans. They're people who don't like the movie. They are critics and or haters. What is this toxic fan thing? I don't say that in the show. What I do say in the show is that the whole toxic fan phenomenon has nothing to do with her being a woman. It's just sort of decoration around the edges. It's the fact that she's a superhero. And I point out that when Heath Ledger was announced as a Joker, everyone was like, no, Brokeback Joker. And after the movie comes out, Heath Ledger only Joker. When Michael Keaton wasn't, and then they did it again with Jared Leto, the whole Joker thing. And, when Michael Keaton was announced as Batman, not Beetlejuice Batman, no way, he's a comedian, how could he be Batman? Then it comes out, only Batman. And they were mad at anybody who kind of took it over, though I know one person who thinks Val Kilmer was the best Batman. I personally think that, what was his name? Kevin Conroy in Batman the Animated Series. He's my Batman. Mark Hamill's my Joker. It happens over and over and over again. I mean, then remember when Ben Affleck was announced as Batman? Fans had a weird relationship with him. They went from, no way, no Batfleck, to best part of Batman versus Superman. And over time, comic geeks really tried to like Batman versus Superman because there's this whole odd, tension in comic book fandom where comic book fans say they're going to hate everything. They expect to hate everything, but they go see it anyway because they're afraid that if they don't see one movie, they're going to stop making all comic book movies. And I've heard this over and over and over again, so I've taken to calling it paying the nerd tax. And for a long time, people fought to they really tried hard to like Batman versus Superman, despite all the complaining beforehand. It wasn't a very good movie. And so eventually people were I guess, mad at that. And then when Justice League was also not the best movie, everybody sort of went, okay, well, we're going to like Wonder Woman and Aquaman from that movie. And everybody else we're going to hate again. So Batfleck had this moment in the sun and then less. And of course, that Batman versus Superman was a poor retelling of a bunch of things, but there was a lot of Dark Knight 2 in Batman versus Superman, and I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they took that whole take on it. That's not the point of this video. The point is that it's very interesting that, it's because she's a woman, toxic fans. I don't say this in the War on Stupid tour. It's because it's all about jokes. The two lasting characters from Justice League that everybody likes are the woman and the not totally white dude. So, Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot. Those are the ones that fans are yeah, those two We're with those two. Everybody else, all the Henry Cavill's a decent Superman. He hasn't had a good Superman script, which is really unfortunate. He's definitely not my favorite Superman. Christopher Reeve is still my favorite Superman. Followed by the guy who plays Superman in Supergirl. He's really good, even though he's not around much. I like Brandon Routh as the Atom more than I liked him as Superman. Many reasons for that. But again, a lot having to do with the script. So you can't really say that comic book fans are just anti-woman. Now, there are some extra parameters on this stuff about there's a particular version of Ms. Marvel / Captain Marvel that comic book fans like better. And this is not evocative of that one. And there's some stuff spilling over from the stuff that's going on in Marvel, like the actual floppy comics right now, that continues to go on, that's spilling over to the movies. But you really can't say there's anything unique about people hating on a superhero movie just because she's a woman. So I was really dismayed. And I don't want to gloss over the reaction to some of Brie Larson's comments about, movie reviewers tending to be white men, and she'd like fewer of them on her junket. I know some people took that and felt it was an attack. I really do not believe it was intended as an attack. That doesn't mean it isn't valid that people were upset. The media loves to twist those things for maximum impact. I really ask that people consider that in terms of their attitude towards Brie Larson. Because I do think, I do think that, that was overblown. The whole, that particular comment. She said some other things about things. She has gone, one would say, political in the hype, the hype up for this movie. I personally think, again, free speech. You guys saw my free speech series. I think people should be able to say what they want. People don't have to like it. But there's this whole thing about people. I think people were a little extra sensitive to those comments because of what was going on. And when you create controversy with your comments on a movie junket, it's never the best thing. But then you get this is the thing. Sorry, guys, I was distracted there because I was pulling up the page again. It crashed. I had to find another article. But then you get headlines with this after the movie comes out. And this is driving me crazy. And this is what I actually, the main point of why I wanted to make this video today. Other than sort of outlining the controversy. I don't want to focus on the controversy. That's the thing. Trolls targeted Captain Marvel, but Disney was ready for them. Film studios are taking a more aggressive approach to countering online criticism. This makes me sad. I don't want people to take on critics during hype sessions. Okay? She didn't, it says here that Larson also didn't shy away from the topic of female empowerment in the interviews. It says Larson faced questions over whether she was brawny enough to play one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe. People said the same thing about Gal Gadot before she was Wonder Woman, and she was good in the part, and that's what people care about more than anything. And isn't that supposed to be what we're supposed to do? When we first saw it, we're like, we're not sure. But then we judged her based on her acting ability, not based on whether we think she looks what's in our head for the part. Yeah. But they talk about the fact that movies like Ghostbusters and Star Wars: The Last Jedi allegedly were hurt by online stuff. And I think that I disagree with that. I think that The Last Jedi did perfectly fine commercially. I think the big problem with The Last Jedi is it ended on a downer and not the kind of exciting, oh my God, he's trapped downer that Empire Strikes Back ended on. They flat out, spoiler, killed off Luke Skywalker. Now, Jedis are never quite dead, so he could come back. But it was a downer. You kind of leave the movie going, well, everything sucks. And I wish directors would stop trying to make Empire Strikes Back for the second movie. Like, I wish they'd stop. Empire was Empire. Make your own movie, okay? But there's this gnashing of teeth now because of what happened to Ghostbusters, which I still haven't seen, because what I don't like about it is it does that Hollywood thing. It has nothing to do with an all-female cast. It has everything to do with they didn't pay proper deference to the source material. They wiped it all out and treated it like it never happened. Now, that would upset me whether it was all male, all female, all non-white people, all white people. I wouldn't care. It's the lack of deference to the source material. And I think a lot of fans felt that way too. The one thing I did feel like was unfair was the hate on Kelly Marie Tran during The Last Jedi. But I think that was poor management on Disney's end. You have to insulate actors from pre-movie speculation, because pre-movie speculation, people are going to be negative. It's not going to go away. I believe trying to clamp down on this stuff is only going to make it louder. And I think it's just best they should tell everybody, male, female, everything, don't listen to the online hate pre-release, and quite frankly, post-release. Focus on, when it's an action movie like this, the only thing that matters is the box office, not the reviews. Remember, the original Star Wars was quite poorly reviewed when it originally came out. The reviews don't matter. The angry people online don't matter. When you become that big, a cultural phenomenon, there are some people that are going to be absolutely livid that something is just that popular. You cannot help it. Like, the thing I keep telling myself is, there are people out there who hate Ellen DeGeneres. I have no idea how any human being hates Ellen DeGeneres. She just seems like the nicest flipping person in the world. She is funny. She is nice. Like, I have no idea how anybody hates Ellen, but there are people out there who hate Ellen. And every time I feel sort of down about some of the hate I draw, I keep in mind that, like, people hate Ellen. Okay. There are people out there who are going to hate everything. And I think that's the approach that movie studios should take, not this more active countering, because I really do think that I agree with the, there are ways to measure the same sort of hype meter that Rotten Tomatoes was measuring pre-Captain Marvel release. Without Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes has never been terribly accurate. There are private polling firms that do much more specific data on that stuff. Nobody really needs the Rotten Tomatoes, like, interested button. And that got, like, people said it got review bombed. It wasn't quite that. It was that, I understand, metric, and people were posting negative comments and things like that. I am perfectly fine with them turning that off, I think, because it's useless. I think the time they did it only fanned the flames. If they had waited a bit and, waited for the movie to come out and then done it quietly, I think people wouldn't have had the same strong reaction that some people did to that. I don't think that had anything to do with the movie, the Captain Marvel movie specifically. I think it had more to do with nobody likes feeling like they're being manipulated by marketers. Even though, sorry to break it to you guys, we're all being manipulated by marketers. But I really do think that this countering negative stuff is a bad idea. Ghostbusters shows that it's a bad idea. Do I believe that some people do target people because of their race, because of their gender? Yes, I do. I think that is because, based on my knowledge of how online trolling works, the media covers it. And unfortunately, there are some people who their lives just suck so bad. They are so unhappy. They feel so insignificant. I shouldn't say that their lives are bad. They just feel insignificant. And the only way they feel like they matter is to do this stuff online, to rage online to the point that somebody covers them. And then it's this weird sort of reverse senpai noticed me, and they act like they're all angry about the coverage, but at least they feel like they exist. That's the psychology I see observing about this stuff. And I know some of the people going off on some of this stuff, they're not bad people. They're clearly very unhappy people, but they're not bad people. And I know they're not actively racist in their their day-to-day lives. They're not, the worst sexists I've ever met in their day-to-day lives. I say that because everyone has a little bit of sexism going on. Everybody has a little bit of racism going on. It's like the Avenue Q thing. Everyone's a little bit racist. And holding a few sexist views or a few outdated racist views or anything like that, that doesn't make you a racist, right? It means you got this one thing you need more education on. That's it. But these are not bad people getting really angry about these movies. And so I think that, because Captain Marvel, they say it has the lowest gender gap. No, gender gap, people get triggered. That's not the kind of gender gap I'm talking about. They measure, do more women see this film? Do more men see this film? Captain Marvel was apparently split 55-45, but it was still 55 male. Now, that makes me, that it's like, okay, it's a female lead. It was marketed towards women. The whole thing was girl power, and more men still saw it. That says something about who your primary demographic for superhero movies still is. It's still men. I'm glad that it's almost even. I'll be happy when apparently Black Panther had the least gender gap before Captain Marvel. So it's interesting that when they've got somebody who's not a white dude, more women go see it. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's because there were a lot of very, emphasized female supporting characters. Black Panther was just a big cast overall, right? It was much more of an ensemble film. But yeah, I think that to me is an indication. Give your female characters more to do in every movie. Make them more part of the action instead of people who just react to things. Zoe Saldana as Gamora has very little to do. Wonder Woman in Justice League and Wonder Woman in Batman vs. Superman. Okay, she was an extended cameo in Batman vs. Superman. But even in Justice League, she didn't have that much to do. And I think that's the lesson. That's the actual lesson to take away from Captain Marvel. That women and men want to see movies where women aren't props. Right? And people go, Wonder Woman wasn't a prop. Go back and watch those movies compared to her standalone Wonder Woman movie. Wonder Woman was I hate to use these words because they trigger people, but hear me out. Wonder Woman was more often the object that was acted on than an actor in Justice League. Aquaman hits on her because he's sitting on the lasso of truth. Right? Wonder Woman really didn't have much to do with that scene. That was Aquaman. She was just the target of his perviness, right? Flash crashes into Wonder Woman and his face lands right in her boobs. That is a Flash moment. Wonder Woman was just sort of the object he hit. Oh, kind of a fan servicey waifu kind of moment. But it was so fast. Nobody most people didn't catch it. There was a lot of that going on in Justice League. Now, that was because it was a poorly written film. And it was also, there were a lot of Joss Whedon's directorial flourishes. Those are both very clearly Joss Whedon scenes. And I don't care what anybody says. I think Joss Whedon has a serious issue with women that he has not yet addressed. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, but he made Buffy. Yeah, Buffy had a lot of issues with it too. But that doesn't mean that a female director is necessarily going to make, the perfect gender balanced movie. I think that everybody just has to be more aware of this large secondary audience and their primary audience, who would quite frankly much prefer things not be quite so stupid. Nobody was terribly big on Justice League. The consensus is it wasn't very good. Now, one could say that that's because it was split between the two directors and it was a hot mess, and that might absolutely be true. But even scene by scene, there were those typical Joss Whedon character voice problems that we also saw in the Avengers. And then there was Zack Snyder, right? Make everything gloomy, dark, and in slow-mo. Like, the worst habits of both directors came to the fore. Then you get somebody like, I forget the name of the guy who directed Thor Ragnarok. Great movie. And, a lot of women see the Thor movies, too. A lot of guys like the Thor movies. They're huge crowd pleasers, right? Get guys like that. Everybody's really down on Ant-Man and the Wasp, but everybody who like the whole Ant-Man franchise, but everybody who saw those movies, I don't know of anybody who didn't like those movies. They were fun movies. There are directors, Patty Jenkins knows how to make a movie that people like. I mean, she fought the studio for that Wonder Woman uses the shield through the battle zone, and the studio didn't get it. And she was like, too bad, I'm keeping it in. And that's the one you see all the cartoons, all the homages. That was like the pinnacle moment of the film. So it doesn't matter if the director's male. It doesn't matter if the director's female, if they understand the character. Now, I do think what Brie Larson was saying is that Hollywood, all of Hollywood, not the fan base, Hollywood itself needs to open up to the idea that women can understand these characters, male and female, too. And I'm sorry it got reported the way it did, because I really think that's what she was, based on the larger context of her comments. I really think that she was trying to say that. I know a whole bunch of people are going to be mad at me and not believe me, but it's not going to change my mind. Those conversations happen behind closed doors in Hollywood all the time. Her big transgression was she said it in public. And that's really not fair to her. I think people need to be honest about those sorts of frustrations and be allowed to say it. Freedom of speech is not freedom of consequences from speech, but it clearly didn't hurt the movie, right? The backlash didn't hurt the movie. I am not sure that was the place to say it, though I think in that case, Disney gave her the go-ahead. Those things are tightly managed. Those things don't tend to be accidents. Amber Heard basically making Jason Momoa out to be a jerk before Aquaman came out didn't hurt the movie. What does this mean? A lot of these around the edges things that the media and the internet get really excited about really don't hurt the movie, because most people don't seek that stuff out. They see the trailers, they see the billboards, it's a superhero movie. Okay, this is guaranteed escapist fun with, that doesn't insult my intelligence too much. Okay, I'll go see it. It's going to be minimum, like mostly worth my money. That's what matters. Like I said, I don't even think the marketing for Captain Marvel was terribly good, but it was enough to get people to see it. That's all that matters. The average movie-going person, which is most people, is not really swayed by this hot take drama. So the media should stop doing this hot take drama and just take the film on its merits or the lack of merits. Do things about the history of the character. That's really interesting. Take a positive spin on this thing instead of just covering the negativity. People are sick of that. People are looking for things that make them feel happy. And I know that negative articles do better than positive articles, but that's because I don't know why. It's the negativity bias in people's brains. I stopped doing that. I only read this crap because I have to make videos about it. But I mean, I would rather, every time I get excited to see Captain Marvel, because word of mouth sounds like it's an all right, it's not a great movie, but it's an all right movie and there's cats in it. Yay. I see a headline like this and now I'm like, I'm not excited anymore. And so I'm going to wait until I'm excited again, that I'm in the mood to like it. And I know I'm not alone in that. So I wish these hot take writers would just knock it the heck off. And I know that was 30 minutes on a freaking movie, but that's how freaking complicated it's become. And that's the ridiculous part about it. So I'm going to sign off now. Hopefully you found that sort of weird meandering, sagged in the middle because I lost the webpage. But hopefully you found that interesting. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/Leanna K if you want the actual review. Because it's a waste of time to do that on YouTube. It just, the search engine optimization is garbage on things like this. So thanks for watching.